Welcome back. Well, the National Park Service has reopened the Cave of the Domes inside the Grand Canyon. The cave, which has previously been the only one open to the public, has since been closed since the end of March.
The Grand Canyon is often described as one of the most studied landscapes on Earth. Its geology is mapped in detail, its formations cataloged, its history taught in classrooms around the world. Yet within its vast network of cliffs and side canyons, there are areas that remain deliberately closed, unmarked on public maps, and rarely discussed outside official channels.
Ever heard of the cave in the Grand Canyon?
One of those areas is known informally among park staff as a restricted zone deep within the canyon walls. The National Park Service has long limited access to certain sections of the Grand Canyon for practical reasons. Some cliffs are structurally unstable, prone to sudden rockfalls that can be triggered by vibration or weather. Other areas are protected because of their cultural importance to indigenous tribes whose histories predate the canyon's designation as a national park by thousands of years. In a few cases, both factors apply at once. According to internal park records and historical incident reports, one particular section of near-vertical cliffs has been classified as exceptionally dangerous. Previous descents ended in serious injury when unexpected rock failures tore away anchors and crushed equipment at the base of the wall. After one climber narrowly survived being dragged across the rock face during a collapse, authorities suspended all further access. Since then, the area has remained officially closed. For local indigenous communities, especially the Hopi and Havasupai, the closure has a deeper meaning. Oral histories describe parts of the canyon as places of emergence, locations where the boundary between the surface world and the underworld is believed to be thin. Elders have repeatedly asked that certain regions remain undisturbed, not out of fear, but out of respect for traditions passed down across generations. For decades, these warnings and restrictions effectively ended scientific interest in the zone. That changed quietly in early 2024. After a series of small collapses near a river corridor raised concerns about broader structural instability, park authorities approved a limited geological assessment. The mission was not archaeological in nature. It was intended to study erosion patterns and stress fractures using remote sensing tools without requiring extended human presence on the cliff face. The research team consisted of geologists, climate specialists, and mapping experts from several universities. Their primary instruments were LiDAR scanners and spectral imaging systems mounted on drones and stabilized platforms. These tools allowed them to collect data from areas where standing or climbing would be unsafe. For several weeks, the scans showed nothing unexpected. Layered limestone, sediment bands, and fracture lines consistent with known canyon geology filled the datasets. Then one scan from a northern cliff face produced an anomaly. Within the digital model, faint symmetrical shapes began to emerge. They appeared as arches embedded within the rock, evenly spaced and unusually precise. At first, the team suspected a calibration error. Natural formations can sometimes produce misleading patterns in remote data, especially in complex terrain. To rule that out, the team cross-checked the scan using multiple devices and angles. The shapes remained. What the instruments were detecting did not resemble random erosion. The geometry was consistent across scans, suggesting internal voids with smooth, curved surfaces. After careful deliberation and additional safety planning, the team requested permission for a controlled descent to visually confirm the data. Authorization was granted under strict conditions. The descent began before sunrise to minimize wind activity. Progress was slow and methodical. Every anchor point was tested repeatedly. The team moved in silence, stopping frequently to listen for shifting stone. Even small disturbances in that section of the canyon can trigger large rockfalls. After nearly 2 hours, headlamps revealed what the scanners had hinted at. Set into the cliff face were 3 arched openings carved directly into the stone. Their edges were smooth, their spacing uniform. The surrounding rock felt noticeably different to the climbers, harder, colder, and less weathered than adjacent surfaces. This alone was unusual in a canyon known for irregular erosion. Inside the first opening, the temperature dropped sharply. The air was stagnant and heavy, suggesting the space had been sealed from airflow for a very long time. The walls were not jagged as expected in a natural cave. They were curved and polished, reflecting light evenly rather than scattering it. The passage opened into a series of connected chambers. The largest chamber could comfortably hold several people standing upright. Its walls bore faint, repeating grooves, subtle enough to be missed without close inspection. These marks did not resemble natural fracture patterns. They were consistent in depth and spacing, as if produced intentionally. At the center of the chamber stood a low stone platform encircled by carefully placed boulders. Their orientation was not random. Measurements later showed the arrangement aligned closely along an east-west axis, consistent with solar movement. It was here that the team made their most unexpected discovery. Beneath a thin layer of dust on the platform lay a circular metallic object roughly the size of a dinner plate. Its surface was smooth, symmetrical, and free of corrosion. When touched, it felt colder than the surrounding air, as if it were conducting heat unusually efficiently. Portable X-ray fluorescence testing revealed an alloy composition that did not match any naturally occurring metal in the region. The readings indicated a mixture containing arsenic with trace amounts of nickel and platinum. Producing such an alloy would require controlled refining processes and sustained high temperatures. Around the platform were polished stone fragments arranged in a loose ring. One fragment contained a shallow groove that matched the disc's curvature precisely, suggesting the object had once been seated there intentionally. As documentation continued, the team expanded its scanning to the surrounding chambers. 3-dimensional mapping revealed architectural symmetry throughout the structure. Angles met cleanly. Curves repeated consistent ratios. Acoustic testing showed that sound behaved unusually inside the space, returning in smooth, focused echoes rather than dispersing randomly. When instruments were extended deeper into the cliff, sensors detected a faint but regular magnetic fluctuation originating from within the rock itself. The signal pulsed at consistent intervals, something not typically seen in natural magnetic fields. Attempts to isolate the source were inconclusive, but the readings persisted even when equipment was powered down. Further scans identified a narrow fissure leading to a smaller cavity beyond the main chambers. A micro-drone was deployed through the opening. Inside, the drone's camera revealed human skeletal remains resting side by side, partially buried in sediment. Nearby, charcoal markings and handprints were visible on the stone walls, along with a large smooth slab blocking what appeared to be another tunnel. At the center of that slab was a circular indentation matching the dimensions of the metallic disc found earlier. Before any further exploration could be attempted, a partial collapse occurred near the descent route. A falling boulder narrowly missed the team, forcing an immediate evacuation. Given the instability of the area, park authorities halted the mission. All collected data was secured for review. In the weeks that followed, access to the site was permanently revoked. Official statements cited geological hazards and the need to protect culturally sensitive areas. No detailed findings were released publicly. Portions of the survey data were classified pending further analysis. Since then, speculation has circulated widely. Some researchers argue the structure represents an unknown chapter of human activity, while others caution against drawing conclusions before independent verification. Indigenous leaders have reiterated their calls for the area to remain sealed, emphasizing that not all knowledge is meant to be uncovered. What is clear is that the Grand Canyon, despite centuries of study, still contains places where certainty gives way to unanswered questions. Whether the chambers represent an ancient human construction, a misunderstood natural phenomenon, or something else entirely remains unresolved. For now, the canyon keeps its silence,